Hi guys, Ronnie here and welcome to the workshop. Today I'm doing my last Zwift race of this Zwifting season. So I decided to share a couple of experiences that I've done in the past winter on how to prepare for these races to get out your maximum performance. For me this was not a priority or any of these events. It was just added to my base training as a flicker of intensity. But I enjoyed them nevertheless. I got some good results on some of them. So I wanted to share a couple of tips just to help you out because it can add a bit of spice to your winter preparation. And winter might be over in the northern hemisphere, but there will be winter next year, so you can still use them. And the southern hemisphere just turns into colder weather. So let's have a look at what I've been doing to maximize performance. So the two most imperative things when compared to outdoors, racing indoors, is, well, you want the maximum possible power output, and two things that are hindering that are ventilation and temperature control. So the first thing I do is use my indoor specific kit. This is made by No Pins and I've been using it for the past 2 years. As you can see, it's just very thin mesh material, so it doesn't trap any heat. But the actual clever stuff about it are the pockets that enable you to put cooling ice packets that are also included with the kit. These are still in the freezer and my girlfriend will bring those up when I start the race itself, or not really for the start, but at around an hour in. This will be a longer event that I'm doing, so I want to use those towards the end. Regarding temperature, I've been using the Core body temperature sensor here, which is a very useful tool for me in particular, because I've been struggling with riding in the heat outdoors, which for me is a problem because the nationals are always in June when it's hot. But it applies to Zwift racing as well. So your body and core temperature really affect the performance you can put out. It's a real limiting factor. So in my experience, I have to keep mine under 39 degrees, possibly under 38.7 to get out the maximum performance. So the kit and the cooling helps out with that. Then the second important thing is cooling from inside. So my drinks, both that I prepared, have been in the fridge overnight. I also use the freezer in the summer for outdoor rides, where you get very cold drinks for an hour or so until they melt and you have a nice kind of ice slush. I tried it indoors, but it doesn't work very well because it takes a lot more to melt, so you can't really drink. That's far from ideal. So just cooling it helps definitely to keep your body temperature down. Then in terms of what's actually inside, this is the Flow Formulas carbohydrate drink that I've been trialing. It uses a high carbohydrate concentration, which is nice for racing, and you can mix it different ways also for training. And it has electrolyte in it, which is important inside. Once I did a carbohydrate only drink for Zwift racing and I got cramps, so not ideal. So this is what you want covered. You actually use quite a lot of energy when riding in a hot environment compared to cold because of the cooling effect that's needed, so keep an eye on that. Then of course a towel. This is just usually on the table here because otherwise it hinders the airflow coming from the fan. Obviously fan super important. The Wahoo headwind that I've been using also for the past couple of years. It's an intelligent fan, really high power, real nice shape of the airflow to actually cool you down, not just to randomly move air around the room. So that's nice to have. Regarding a room itself, this one is a pretty large area, so I have a lot of air flow coming in, It's also pretty cool because I switched off the cooling and opened the windows, obviously to get more oxygen in. These are the easy things you can do to improve your ventilation and cooling. Another neat thing that I've started using recently is this little halo headband. It has a silicone strip which prevents sweat from dripping into your ears, and it's really useful when riding hard indoors. I got this from a friend who recommended it to me, and I've been using it since, particularly for these events. So this is pretty much it regarding the technicalities. You can notice that I'm not using the kicker bike here just because I don't have my power meter pedals yet, and I need dual recording, so 2 sets of power data for Zwift racing ideally. So this was the only way to do it, unfortunately, not very convenient, but we'll get through this as well for next time around. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Regarding the nutrition, I also wanted to talk about that. So since this is a race, I use some caffeine, a caffeine pill, 120 milligrams, which is on the low side. I should be taking around 180, but this is not a key event, so I'm not really worried about that. And then it's just the usual stuff really, carb up for the breakfast, and yeah, I don't have to worry about gels, as I said, because I have a high concentration carbohydrate drink on there. So now it's time for the warm-up, and then it's kickoff basically, so let's get into that. Okay guys, so the race went pretty well. I managed to hit a 2nd place, which is quite a good result for me. The legs were pretty good but not excellent after some gym training early in the week, so yeah, it's more or less what I expected. The things and strategies that I was talking about worked out quite well. Of course, it's still a road race, so you need to save your power where you can and spend it where it's most valuable to make a difference. I usually choose hilly courses because that's what suits me. Of course, it will be different for everyone. I misjudged the end a little bit, so even though I try to study the course in the event description, sometimes it's quite hard to judge where the finish line is, and I thought it will be on a little uphill section, but it was just on a flat, so I spent my aero boost sooner than would have been advantageous, but nevertheless it's just training for me. And the biggest takeaway I want to give you is also regarding, well, the results themselves, is not to take them too seriously, because it's still, at the end of the day, it's Zwift, it's people online, and things are not always square. This fella with no Strava profile whatsoever, winning every single race he enters with 20 watts per kilo or a plus 1000 watt sprint indoors at the weight of 55. So honestly, that's a bit sus, but I don't care if this floats his boat. I don't mind it at all. For me, it's about the preparation and pushing myself without structure. That's also important sometimes, because yeah, racing itself has a pretty good part in the preparation phase. So yeah, if you look at my data, then it's nothing outrageous really. I did my 10-minute best for this year, but it's early days, so at no point I was pushing for a full 10-minute effort. And yeah, heart rates are high up, as you can see, because of the heat. It was quite warm outside today, so I didn't get the room as cool as I wanted to be. So I felt that also during riding, but yeah, it is what it is. At least I got some adaptation. Okay, so that was a couple of tips for Zwift racing. I hope you have found this information useful. I'm also planning to continue with this series into my actual races, and time trials, of course, discussing the courses, how I set up, how I prepare, etc. So if you'd be interested in that, then let me know in the comments, so I put more effort into these and set aside more time. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.